Hi, my name is Malinta. I'm here to give information presentation about the world historic sites that's located in Sri Lanka. Uh, in my presentation, the main theme is going to be entered into a world of history through the Lions Mountain. That's probably the thing I'm going to talk about. It's called Sigiriya. That's what I'm going to talk about. It's the Lions Rock. It's an ancient rock fortress and a palace ruin situated in the central district of Sri Lanka. It's surrounded by remains of an extensive network of gardens, reservoirs, and other structures. It's a popular tourist destination. It's also renowned for its ancient frescoes, which is one of the most uh, attention-getting aspects that tourists look for when they come to Sri Lanka. It was built during the reign of King Kasyapa. That's the king who built it, and it's one of the 7 World Heritage Sites in Sri Lanka. After the era of the kings, it also served many other purposes, such as it served as a monastery, a rock shelter for the Buddhist monks, as Buddhism was becoming the primary religion of the country. I was born in Sri Lanka, which makes me proud of the history. As I grew up in the country, I have personally visited this site 3 times. Since it is also popular with the local tourist industry, it is also very difficult to put into words or describe how big and how massive the structure is, which was the remains of once a powerful fortress. It's one of the ancient miracles of history which draws visitors from all over the world, and it is one of the most amazing architectural pieces of its time. It's a very popular tourist destination because tourists are fascinated by the technology and the architectural integrity that was used, which is far ahead of its time. The main thing I'm going to talk about is different kings who ruled the palace, the events that led to the building of the palace, and the architectural aspects of the palace. First, let's examine the history of the different kings who ruled Srigiriya at that point of time. Sigiriya was built during the reign of King Kasyapa, and he ruled the country from 473 AD to 495 AD. He was the second king of the royal dynasty who ruled that country. He's primarily responsible for building the citadel because he built it because he overthrew his father's reign, and he took the kingdom which was originally supposed to be his brother. Both his parents were royalty, and until he overthrew his father and took control of the kingdom. There are many reasons as to why he built the fortress/palace, but the main reason lies in the argument in his family. The one point that I understand is the fear of revenge. King Kasyapa murdered his own father by whaling him alive, and then took the throne and took control of the country. His brother fled to India because of the fear of being assassinated by his younger brother, and he vowed on his father's grave that he's going to return with the army and take control of his kingdom. And because he was afraid of that, he built a fortress and a palace to protect him from the invasion. And another reason is that he wanted to show the people of Sri Lanka that he was the rightful king and to gain respect, and that's another reason he built it. And Sigiri also served as a palace of pleasure for the king. It is said that he had 500 women in his palace for his entertainment. So it can be said that Sigiri had a lot of purposes. One definitely would be defense and pleasure, and he wanted to get respect. The clear intention of this palace was security and defense, but at the same time he also made sure that the architectural integrity was amazing. It's also world famous for his frescoes, the famous paintings of semi-nude women that was drawn all around the palace. I'm going to show you a couple pictures that I got from a tourist website in Sri Lanka, the various famous frescoes that was done. So here I have a couple of pictures that shows the frescoes that was drawn on the walls of Sigiriya, and this is another picture. This is all drawn on a rock fortress. It's basically drawn on solid rock. This here is the entrance to the palace, which is all the pure rock. This was entirely sculptured in rock, and this is the Sigiriya palace, and the palace is built on top of this, and this is the woods around this, providing great security. This is another picture of the frescoes, and this is called the mirror wall. Behind, on the other side of this, it's poems written to the king saying how great he was. This is another picture of the water garden that was built for Sigiriya. And let me talk to you more about the different architectural aspects. Alright, now you know what the frescoes looks like, and you know what the mirror wall is. Mirror wall is originally polished so that the king could see himself as he walked through. So there was poems and various literature pieces that made the king proud and said how great he was, basically. And the gardens I showed you has three types. There were water gardens and there were regular gardens and boulder gardens. The landscapes and gardens of Sigiriya are one of the main aspects that made it so great. It had water gardens with pipes underneath that could operate the fountains, which is up to date, which still works when you make it switch on. So the first garden, water garden, is an island that's surrounded by water with, it's usually used as a moat. And the second one, underneath the pools there are water conduits that supply water to the fountains, which I already told you. All this stuff was done for the king, basically to make him happy, and then when he looked over from his kingdom, just to make sure he had a clear view of what he's gonna get. So in every aspect, the king was able to create an impact on the world of history by building a fortress to protect him and building a palace for his own pleasure. So this is by far the remains of an ancient city that looks over the country, which was once a flourishing and powerful kingdom. So I'm going to talk about the aspects that I already covered in the speech. I was talking about the different kings who were ruled at that time in Sri Lanka, the reasons as to why the King Kasyapa built his palace, and the world famous paintings that was once a house of pleasure basically for the king. So this is my conclusion. This is a great tourist destination that is adored by the world and is a perfect example of the indigenous and crafty people who once ruled Sri Lanka. Thank you.